Hi, Victoria. Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Wiltshire. I run Sam Wiltshire Social, and today I am joined by the amazing, incredible Victoria Beddoes, who is a wedding photographer. She is a personal branding photographer and an absolute magician behind the lens. So, Victoria, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about what you do and why you do it?
Absolutely. So I am a photographer who is dedicated to primarily telling women-led stories, and for me that spans portraits through to weddings, primarily because they're a real focus on female storytelling, and empowerment is at the root of all of my photography. So I want it to empower women through the process, through the result, and through the images themselves. So that's a really key component in what I do.
I would totally agree with the whole empowerment thing as well. Like, the reason I chose to work with Victoria is I just saw some of the photos that she'd done for somebody else, and then I messaged you and said, can we work together? You asked me to send over some examples, and I sent over some photos of like Sarah Lucas and some like really strong women, and you just rolled with it. You went with it, and like the photo shoot came out amazing because you really sort of took the time to understand my vibe and my personal brand and how I work. And I just really love that. So what when you first start working with someone that wants a personal branding photo shoot, what's the first thing you ask them? Like, how do you kind of get to know them and bring their personality out?
That's a great question. So I think firstly, I don't identify my images as personal branding shoots, although that's what we would use to kind of discuss them. For me, it's all a portrait shoot. And the reason why I do that is because I think people don't buy from businesses, they buy from people. So if you're looking at 4 different photographers and their work is all pretty much the same, you're going to look at the person who's taking those photos. Who do you connect with? And I think that extends to all businesses and brands. And so I like to boil it back down to you and who you are. So I want to know as much about you as possible. I want to know your life story. I want to know what you do, what you're passionate about, your interests, your background. I want to know things that inspire you. So what you do is important to me, but it's not the full picture. I want to tell your story within the context of your industry, if you like. So yeah, you know what I'm like. I just want to know everything. I like to converse with you on email. I will stalk your Instagram account because I'm getting a sense of who you are and what you post. There's so much we can tell about how people like to present themselves, and that's really useful. And then I do always ask for some images that kind of capture what it is you're looking for or hoping to create, or that represent you. And we did that process together, and I just find it absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think you can really tell when someone has taken the time and effort to get to know a person. Like, you can tell there's a relationship between the photographer and the person being photographed. And I think one of the biggest issues of people if I talk to my clients, for example, and I say, look, get some good photographs, the biggest thing that always comes up is, I hate having my photograph taken. I'm terrified. I don't look good on camera and all of that. And like, how do you deal with those kind of nerves with people? Because I feel like that's a really big issue especially with a lot of women.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it comes back to that empowerment. I hate having my photograph taken. I like to say I take photos so no one will take one of me, and it's through it's through empathy, really. I really empathize. I know what it's like. And we're very much in the selfie era where we feel very much in control of the images we take of ourselves. We can get our right angle. We know where we look good. We can adjust our hair. So when you hand that power over to someone else, it is incredibly vulnerable. And I'm very, very sensitive to that. So empowerment is the first aspect, and that happens right from when we start talking. So I try to empower my clients by getting to know them, to build trust between us, to know that I'm not going to do anything that you're not happy with. We'll talk about insecurities, and I like to be very vulnerable, and I'll tell you about my own first. I don't expect it to be a one-way street. We've all got them.
Yeah.
And if I know them, if it's something that particularly worries you, I can work with that. I've got all the tricks in the book. I can use lighting, posing. There's so many things I can do to make sure that we take the focus away from the bits of yourself that you're not comfortable with and onto the bits that you're happy to share. Empowerment through the process in the way that I'm posing you. I'm never going to ask you to do anything you don't feel comfortable with. It's very much a dialogue. We're trying things out where I'm constantly looking at your body language, how you respond to things, looking for tension. I think I'm part psychologist actually when I'm doing a shoot.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And then I'm showing you what's on the camera. And I always ask, I'm not offended if you say, I don't like that shot, because it's not about what I'm doing. I'm focusing on lots of other things, lighting, I'm looking at the kind of craft of it as well as you, but you're just looking at you. So tell me, oh, I don't like that side. Oh, can we do something here? So it's very much a dialogue. I'm never going to make, and I'm sure we can all relate to this, being the victim of a photograph where someone's gone, I'm here to take your photo, snap. I'm like, oh, but what does it look like? And that's it, you're sent on your way. And then you just get to see the horror when it's put up on a business website. Oh my goodness. So it's very much about empowerment, communication, and trust.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And especially your comment about being part psychologist as well. Yeah, whenever I've been on a shoot with you, and I'm sure any of your other clients would say it as well, it's like having a cheerleader coming along with you and just cheering you on and bigging you up and just making you feel really good. And I think once someone feels comfortable and has that sort of sense that, oh, actually this could work and this is going to benefit me in the long run, like it's totally going to work. So yeah, I think the main reason like I love having photograph, like professional set of photographs, is on days where I feel really scruffy, I haven't brushed my hair, I don't want to get dressed, I'm not feeling my best self. Having a set of photographs that I can use and put out for my business on my platforms where I look good makes me look more presentable and professional. And I really appreciate having that to show up with, basically. So what kind of things do you do to help bring someone's personality and personal brand through, and with sort of with their business as well? Like, what sort of props and things do you encourage people to use in the photographs?
Great question. So when we're talking, I'm getting this sense of you, and we'll talk about outfits and things like that. So every photograph I take is a collaboration. It's it's not all me. You might say I'm a magician, but I'm only part of the recipe really to create those images. What you bring is really, really important. So that could be the outfits that you're wearing. Make sure. So lots of people will rush out and buy loads of new clothes. You don't necessarily need to do that. Wear what represents you, what you feel good in. If you want to throw in some new bits, great. But I'm taking inspiration from what you bring. We can work with the outfits and the shapes, the location, which I put a lot of thought into, and there's a lot of dialogue looking at the inspiration you've sent me, and I create a mood board, and we really try to find a location that represents you and your business. So for some people, it might be a premises of some kind. For others, like we did with you, we found somewhere that really kind of captured your spirit. So we photographed in Digbeth, didn't we? And that just brought in your art background and so much of your fun personality. And we can always find some colors that represent your brand, which is really good. So again, it comes back to the person. And I'm trying to always capture your truest self. And I think that again comes back into the way that I direct and work with people, in that eyes are what sell a photo. People want trust. You're never going to get beautifully lit eyes and faces with an image you've taken yourself. And when someone's looking at a pro image, they're looking for that connection, and we do that through eyes. And so what you're thinking and feeling shows on your face. So were you talking about me being a cheerleader? Everything I say I mean, but I'm very much trying to bring you out, because that's what your potential customers and your client base are going to connect with.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I think, yeah, shyness is such a big issue when it comes to having your photograph taken, but having someone on your side, on your team, it just makes
Definitely
all the difference.
And
So
we will always bring in props, and I'll discuss those in a one-to-one, but I never want to be in the position where you're hiding behind your props. So as you know, it's quite a small part of my shoot, because they're important. I mean, it depends very much on what you do, but you're more important than your props.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Yeah, it's hard sort of to start with when you think, oh, I've got to bring all this stuff, and like I'm a social media manager, I should be on my computer or on my phone, and then actually what people want is just to see you and your personality come through. For
Yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so talk me through a typical shoot. So someone's booked in with you. What happens next?
So they're booked in, and we'll have some email back and forth where I'm just trying to get a sense. I will follow you on social media and have a little look at what you're doing, and then I'll book a connection call, and that's where we really just get an idea of who you are, what you're trying to achieve with your images. I'll want to know what kind of places you're putting them, because that might change the way that I shoot. So, for example, if you're looking for primarily Instagram posts, a portrait format will look best, or websites generally tend to work better with a landscape format or a mixture. So we'll discuss all the kind of technicalities, and then I'll ask you to send over some images that kind of inspire you, or something you'd like to connect. And we're never copying images. I'm trying to get a sense of look and feel, and almost a taste of an image, and then from there I'll pull together a mood board. And the point of that mood board is for me to make sure that I'm visualizing you and your brand in the way that you are. It's like when you go to the hairdressers with a haircut. You could describe it to me, but it's always best if you bring a picture. And then we'll work together and refine that mood board until we think we've got that kind of look and feel. And then we'll start talking through locations that we can shoot in, and outfits, and plan our shoot from there.
Okay, great. And then once you're on the shoot, what happens on the shoot? Because I think everyone needs to know about your little portable changing room that you bring out with you.
I love my changing room. So
it's quite a shock when you're asked to get things.
A good shock, hopefully.
It works.
Yeah. A highlight of any shoot for me. So when we go on a shoot, we'll all have lots of stuff, and we will stash it somewhere and just carry around our essentials. And we'll start out very relaxed. So at the start of a shoot, I will probably direct you a little bit more heavily than when we get into it. And it's never, as you know, Sam, it's never sort of a regimented left arm here, right arm, like a twister. I have a look at how you're standing naturally, and I will refine that so that looks best on camera. And I will guide you. I'll handhold you a little bit more in the start, because those first 30 minutes is just where you're decompressing, where you're getting used to this very alien process, and we're kind of building on the foundations of our relationship. And then we will kind of get a feel for when we've exhausted an outfit, and then it's time to crack out the changing room, which is my pop-up little individual tent with the zip, and I will hold that anywhere, and I hold it onto it so it doesn't fly away, like a scene from The Wizard of Oz with you inside, half dressed. And then we'll change out your outfit and we'll move on. It's wondrous. It has revolutionized my shoots, because before we're always looking for a coffee shop we can go and buy some coffees in, but the changing room, yeah, it's revolutionary.
Yeah, I would totally agree. It's a very strange feeling getting changed in the middle of a trading estate in Digbeth on the street, but it works, and it was very quick, and it meant we got lots more shots. So
exactly.
It was great. It was fine. Okay, so what are your top tips for someone that wants to get some personal brand photography done? What are the things they should be looking for from a photographer, and what would you recommend?
Lovely. So you should be looking for somebody whose style that you connect with. Do you want somebody who, everyone edits in a different style. So editing is the way that the image looks, different tones. You can get quite trendy edits, or you can get people who are a bit more classic. And so you're going to look for images that you resonate with. When you speak to your photographer, the most important thing is that you connect with them, that you feel at ease with them, because you're going to be in a vulnerable position having your photograph taken. You want somebody who communicates well, and you also want somebody, when you're asking, that understands all the elements of photography, so that they understand how to use a camera, hopefully, but also that they understand lighting and posing, because there are 3 strands that all work together. The most important thing I think you need to look at is image usage. So what people don't understand is, even when you've commissioned photographs, The photographer, because of the way that intellectual property works, will always own the copyright of those images. You're just using them, if you like. So you always need to be clear with what usage rights that you have. Your photographer should be very upfront about what usage rights that you have. So, and then go from there. You don't want to be using an image in a magazine if you haven't got the usage rights for that. So that's really important that you have that conversation up front with your photographer if it's not already clearly labeled in their packages. And then I would also start to consider about what you want the images to say about you. And it's not about crafting a narrative. It's about making sure we're pulling out the elements of you and your business that you want at the forefront. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I would totally agree with everything you said. And it is so important to think about things like usage rights. I think there's so many creatives at the minute that are getting shortchanged out of so many things because people aren't thinking about where the next steps of these things are going to be going. So it's really important that, like you said, make sure you understand all of that stuff before you even do the shoot. Okay, so go on, sorry.
I was just saying, any photographer will be able to explain that to you. You don't need to go and do lots of research. Just ask the questions. They will know the answers.
Okay, great. So I've booked my photo shoot. I'm ready to go. It's the day before the shoot. What tips are you going to give me for turning up and things like getting ready? What would be really useful to get ready with?
Okay. I think the biggest one is something people have picked up from years ago, is that they need to wear loads and loads of makeup for your shoot. You do not need to wear loads and loads of makeup. You just need to look like you in a way that you feel best. If you don't wear makeup, don't wear makeup. That it will not affect your shoot. For your outfits, make sure you've tried them on. Make sure that you feel good in them. How you feel is going to translate to how they look. You don't necessarily need to buy a whole new wardrobe unless you really want to. I would recommend getting as much sleep as you possibly can. These things do show in your face. Bring a lip balm. Dry lips are really hard to retouch. That's my number one tip, is just it will always look great on camera. And just be honest about any insecurities you have. If you've broken out that day, for example, talk to your photographer. Don't try and cover it in loads of concealer, because it's always easier for us to just do a one-click remove rather than try and smooth all the skin out from the concealer.
That's a really interesting one. And I completely agree about like not feeling like you have to wear too much makeup or dress up or something. Like the more you show up as yourself, the better the photos are going to be, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So where can we learn more about working with you? And like, obviously your diary is booked out constantly, so it's pretty much impossible to book in a shoot with you at the minute. But if people did want to learn more about where they can find out more information about you, where can they go to find that?
Absolutely. So I'm now booking for January onward, which is a lovely position to be in. But you can head to my website, which is victoriabeddowesphotography.co.uk, or Instagram. I'm always on Instagram, lurking somewhere. So you can often find me there at Victoria Beddoes Photo. They're the best places to catch up with me.
Okay, great. All right, Victoria, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate all the time that you give me, because you give me a lot. So thank you so much. And yeah, if anyone wants to book in with Victoria, give her a little message or an email or something. But yeah, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.